This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. We also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 3rd of March 2021, and I am Miss Gay.
I'm Tom.
And I am JM. In case you missed the headlines this morning, here they are. In the Daily Nation, politicians jump the line for COVID-19 jab. In the Standard, Raila wades into Kingi-Joho rivalry. And in the Star, Kagwe, Uhuru cabinet not in COVID jab list. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not particularly interesting headlines, uninspired.
They're not.
So we will continue to deconstruct William RUTO.
Absolutely.
Tua, kick us off.
I will go. Now, if Uhuru was mentored by Jomo, Moi and Kibaki, Raila was mentored by Jaramogi, but Ruto has no mentor on record. He is self-made. And whenever you see a self-made man, you are staring at the horrors of unskilled labor.
Yeah.
If Ruto is a self-made politician, he is a horror of unskilled labor. But this is not fully true. See, Ruto was a boarding student in the Moi School of Politics. In this school, he had a personal tutor known as J.C. Kulei.
That's right.
Kulei was a brilliant political artisan, and he made Ruto in his own image. Then Ruto did his internship under Raila Odinga, the Grandmaster. Uhuru wanted to take Ruto to finishing school. Now, finishing school is a school of social graces,
Yes.
cultural rights.
Yes.
It's a school of manners.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, if your boss calls you and informs you that he's taking your enemy for lunch, he is teaching you social graces.
Absolutely.
And this is what Uhuru did with Raila. He brought Raila to government, knowing very well it may make Ruto uncomfortable. Ruto being Ruto, took the bait and he went rogue. He invaded Uhuru's bedroom and began turning Kikuyus against his boss. He rebelled against Uhuru and even went ahead to tell Uhuru that his government had failed because of the enemy Uhuru, of course, had brought. Such bad manners, in my view. If this was a test on social graces, Ruto failed the test. And if he has failed, he needs to repeat the class or drop out altogether.
Indeed.
Point is simple. Ruto has not cooked enough to be president. Period.
Right. So let me expound a little further on the cooking of the president.
Yes.
Each of our former presidents went through a lifelong, rigorous mentorship program before becoming president.
Right.
And William Ruto will not be the exception.
Yes.
So let us begin with Mzee Jomo Kenyatta.
Yes.
His mentorship took off during his years abroad.
Yeah.
His years abroad between 1929 and 1946 were of great significance to his political career. It is where he truly gained the exposure that would propel him to the presidency.
Yes.
He interacted extensively with Pan-Africanists,
Yeah.
one such person being George Padmore,
Yes.
the highest ranking black official of the Comintern.
Yes.
Now, Padmore sponsored Jomo's travels within Europe to communist conferences, and he would later convince him to enroll at the Comintern's University of Toilers of the East in the Soviet Union.
Correct.
At the London School of Economics, my alma mater, where he enrolled for a postgraduate diploma course in social anthropology. He was tutored by Professor Bronislaw Malinowski.
Yes.
And here he received additional mentorship from Professor Raymond Firth, David Abercrombie, a British phonetician,
Yes.
and Prince Peter of Denmark.
Yes.
You didn't know that, Kings, did you?
No, we didn't.
Then there is our first vice president, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga,
Yes.
who attended Maseno and the Alliance High School, tutored by Carrie Francis and many others. The Odinga family have caressed the thought of having the presidency for over 100 years now.
Correct.
Since the year 1920.
Yes.
Raila Odinga grew up the son of a freedom fighter and the son of a vice president. So, if Raila was made president in 2022, he comes in with a mentorship, the cooking
Yes.
of 100 years.
Absolutely.
And then there's Arap Moi, who
Yes.
was first mentored by Albert Edmund Barnett,
Yes.
the man after whom Barnett is named after, a founding member of the Africa Inland Mission in the 1930s.
Yes.
And throughout his life, we see that Moi surrounded himself with titans, The foremost, of course, being Mzee Jomo Kenyatta,
Yes.
whom he first met in 1959
Yeah.
while Jomo was serving his sentence in Lodwar.
Yes.
Jomo was the finest of teachers,
Yes.
and Moi was the finest of students. He was under his tutelage for over 12 years. And even when he became president, Moi still surrounded himself with people that built him. People like Charles Njonjo, whom they used to drink fermented church wine together with. And then there is Mwai Kibaki, poached from Makerere University by Oginga Odinga to join KANU.
Yes.
He also had big time mentors.
Yes.
What is our point here? John chapter 21 of the Holy Bible. Simon, son of John, did not become head of the church. He was made head of the church after many years of tutelage under Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Similarly, people do not become president. They are made presidents. To become president, therefore, William Ruto must submit himself to mentorship.
Yes.
And do you know why, as you said to him? Because a self-made man has no factory guarantee.
Oh my goodness. Tough words, tough words. I'd like to go on a little lighter note. And I'll begin by wishing Raila Odinga a happy birthday. Lots of affection from the Fort Hall School of Government. And congratulations for being older than the United Nations. Shakespeare said that as you are old and reverend, you should also be wise. And because Mr. Odinga, you are old and reverend and have 100 years of mentorship under your belt, we would therefore like to give some of your wisdom to William Ruto.
Yes,
Specifically, we would like to give William Ruto 2 lessons from the age-old mentored wisdom of Raila Odinga. Raila has run for president for the last 21 years. Some of those years you were his intern. And he knows what to do and what to avoid.
Absolutely.
So number 1, Raila knows that it is not always right to be right.
That's right.
And maybe William Ruto is right about Gemma.
Yes.
And yes, Gemma has been behaving badly.
Yes.
Gemma has been stubborn and rebellious.
Yes.
But being right about this will not take him anywhere.
Right.
For 21 years, Raila Odinga has been right. He has been right about the unfairness of the tyranny of numbers. But being right did not take him anywhere.
That's right.
Doing the right thing was the game changer.
Yeah.
And that is why Raila did the handshake. And it is also why 546 MCAs voted for BBI on Super Tuesday. The second lesson for Ruto from Raila is this. The best calculation is always the absence of calculation. You see, Raila has seen and heard the wind of change, and that change is BBI. Raila has yielded to this wind, and he does not know who will be president or prime minister in 2022, but he has yielded to BBI. He has yielded knowing that the best calculation is the absence of calculation. He knows that the BBI wind is bigger than him. But Ruto has refused to yield. To Ruto, everything must have calculation. And too much calculation will leave him out in the political cold come 2022.
Wow.
Wow.
Really?
I think Mrs. K, probably that's why some people have PhDs in, what did you call it? It's botany, plant science?
Plant science.
So, ladies and gentlemen, dear viewers, we had no winning headline today. And on that account, I want us to move to the political pieces we call cartoons in this country. We've got a 3-part criteria that we used to break them down. We ask ourselves, are they humorous, dry, satirical, pessimistic, ineffective, or just plain lazy? Now, we have assessed these cartoons beforehand, and we have settled on the winning cartoon. Do you want to describe that to us?
The winning cartoon is by Ozone, the star, and that is a drawing of a guillotine. And it's a Jubilee guillotine with a razor blade guillotine. And on one side, it's caricature of Uhuru Kenyatta, Raphael Tuju, David Murathe, and a fallen head sliced by the guillotine of Caleb Kositani, who was what was his position again? I've forgotten. Deputy Secretary General. on the other side, it's just waiting heads of Ruto's team. There is William Ruto, caricature of William Ruto, Edan Duale, Rongo Kangata, and other sycophants.
Yeah. You know, the other day, Caleb Costitan said,
Yes.
Jubilee Party has become like a private members club.
Yes.
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 It is a private members club.
He was right.
And that is the direction we are going as a country.
Yes.
In regard to our politics and our political parties. The Sonkos of this world
Out.
will not be admitted. The rebels of this world, you know, and so many others will not be given permission to enter these private members clubs. No bourgeoisie, no democracy. We cannot afford to be held hostage by the lumpen proletariat and, you know, the people in our society who are just charlatans through and through.
And hoodlums.
And hoodlums, absolutely. I'll leave it there. And now, on to our final thought. But before we get there, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the like button.
Absolutely. Now, our final thought. It is inspired by a book entitled Nudge, Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth and Happiness by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein.
Richard Thaler is a professor of economics at the University of Chicago, and Cass Sunstein is a law professor at Harvard. The two authors use what is called behavioral economics. That's a new area of research that combines economics and psychology to show us how apparently free choices are affected by the way the options are presented to us. Fun fact, Richard Thaler won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economics for his contribution to behavioral economics. Back to the book. In the book, the authors define a nudge as follows. A nudge, as we will use the term, is any aspect of the choice architecture that alters people's behavior in a predictable way by forbidding any options or significantly changing their economic incentives. To count as a mere nudge, the intervention must be easy and cheap to avoid. Nudges are not mandates. The main premise from which the authors proceed is that no decision setting is neutral.
Correct.
In fact, the setting in which individuals make decisions often influences the choices they make. How much we eat depends on what's served on our plate, and what magazines we buy depends on the ones that are displayed at your local supermarket at the checkout line.
That's right.
So whoever presents choices must frame them in some way, and the framing will affect the decisions. So even small and apparently insignificant details can have major impacts on our behavior. An example, if you go into a fast food restaurant, servers are trained to upsell. That means that they are trained to give you extra options to go with your meal. Often it's drinks, extras, and desserts, which are the most profitable part of the meal for the company. For instance, if you go into Java or any other coffee house, your barista will offer you a pastry. That's what Art Cafe is currently doing. If you come in and buy some coffee, we'll give you a donut or a cronut. When the suggestion is offered, you are likely to take the option.
Yes.
And that's the end of my submission.
I love it.
Nice. Yeah.
A story is told of a man called Reverend Jim Jones. Reverend Jim Jones was a founder and leader of the People's Temple. In 1978, Jones, facing charges of tax evasion, moved most of his 1,000 followers from San Francisco to a small settlement in Guyana, which he named Jonestown. Facing a federal investigation for reported acts of child abuse and torture, Jones decided that his followers should poison their children and themselves. They prepared vats of poison. A few people resisted. A few others shouted out their protest, but they were silenced. Following Jones's order and the social pressures imposed by one another, mothers and fathers duly poisoned their children. Then they poisoned themselves.
Goodness.
Can you imagine? Their bodies were later found arm in arm lying together. What's our point of our story here? The lesson here is sometimes massive social changes in markets and politics alike start with a small social nudge. If you nudge the masses with some strong convictions, chances are they will swallow it hook, line, and sinker. And that's the Hustler Nation narrative for you. Yeah, I was going there.
Right.
The masses have been convinced that those that have made it in life are called dynasties, and that dynasties must fall. Yet, the core of the Hustler Nation is economic emancipation towards self-sustenance. Endgame, generation of wealth. Just like the demigod RUTO. Never mind, hustlers should get it by any means necessary. How twisted are we? RUTO and Reverend Jim Jones, same was up.
In short, you're telling us not to drink his Kool-Aid or go live in Ruto town.
Absolutely. So beware. Let me talk a little bit about choice architecture in the public context. So in a public context, nudges are subtle changes in context that help regulators get people behaving according to the regulations and according to the laws. So let me explain by way of a story.
Yeah.
A long time ago in America, girls in their early teens had just discovered lipstick.
Yes.
At break time, they would go into the ladies' toilets and apply it.
Yeah.
Then, giggling, they'd leave imprints of their lips on the mirrors. Now, this made a lot of extra work for the cleaning staff.
Yes.
And so the head teacher, in response, responded in a fairly logical manner. She asked the girls to stop. But of course, as do most young people, they ignored her. And so she decided to use another approach to be a little bit more crafty and innovative. She took the girls to the toilets for a demonstration. She said to the girls, "It takes a lot of work to clean the lipstick off the mirror." She said to the cleaner, "Madam Cleaner, please show the girls how much work it takes." And so the cleaner put the mop in the toilet, squeezed off the excess water, and washed the mirror. Then put the mop in the toilet again and repeated the process. Ladies and gentlemen, from that day on, there was no more lipstick on the mirror. And that is how nudging works.
Yes.
You know, we shouldn't try to force or nag people into doing what you want them to do.
Yes.
Rather, nagging in a subtle way, or rather nudging in a subtle way, you get people to choose, to make them feel like they're choosing what they want to do, but it's really what you want to do.
Absolutely.
So the girls could still choose to kiss the mirror, but now they knew that their lips are touching the water from the toilets that everybody uses. And suddenly, it seems to become an attractive idea to kiss the mirror. That is the brilliant use of subtlety, of choice architecture, and of nudging. And I really do implore people in the public service to
come up with creative options.
Yes,
of showing us exactly how to make the choices.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about convenience, but in compliance, as we spoke about yesterday. But as we've seen with this story, it's also about using crafty methods to, really disempower people. So, on a day where we had no winning headline and a winning cartoon from the start, I will end with a quote on patience by Ellen Glasgow, the American novelist and Pulitzer Prize winner in 1942. And she said, "The key to everything is patience.
Yeah.
You get the chicken by hatching the egg, not by smashing it." Have a good evening, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. God bless.